Hello and welcome to another edition of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
And I'm Bill. And let's start our conversation today, Jason, with the NFL and the ongoing do you stand or do you not stand or do you hide in the locker room or do you make the sponsors happy and make Trump happy moment?
Yes.
I can't think of a worse way to have handled that.
No.
It just seems you get a bunch of people in the room and you come out with an idea. It's just not a partnership and it's ducking the issue. I mean, if you keep everybody in the locker room, then that's you're really not doing. You're probably going to anger enough people because they're not on the field.
And I think there was enough evidence out there. I mean, you look at the number one gelling jersey last year was Colin Kaepernick's jersey.
Yeah.
For all the people saying they weren't going to support the NFL, like Kaepernick had the number one selling jersey. That should tell you that there's enough people that are on his side of the issue.
Yeah, or they feel he's getting railroaded.
Oh, I think he's definitely getting railroaded. There's no question about that.
I mean, there has to be a better way to do this. I mean, you start with having the players in the room and talking through the issues. And first of all, frankly, Jason, if I'm a player and you tell me I got to go out for the anthem, right?
Right.
And if I go out for the anthem, I'm not allowed to kneel. That's the way it's set up right now. But I could do a Tommy Smith, John Carlos, right? I could go out with that. I could go out barefoot, or I could go out with a black glove on my hand and raise my hand.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen the way they lay this out there. So if people start thinking about it, you get a little retro protest going here, and start the whole thing all over again.
Yeah. I mean, I saw that the governor of Minnesota has already come out and said that he's not going to watch the NFL this year. I have to say, and this somewhat makes me, I don't know if ashamed is quite the right word, but a little disappointed in myself. I mean, there's been a lot of reasons to not watch the NFL, I suppose. If whether you talk about, some of the domestic violence issues and CTE issues, there's been plenty of reasons if you're going to turn away. But this is the one that, for whatever reason, this one is the one that's made me the least. I mean, I love NFL football. I've just been able to ignore the other things. But this particular one has been really,
With David Stern was commissioner of the NBA, and I saw him on Friday, which makes me remind about this. I mean, you have to be tough when you need to be tough. And where Roger Goodell's not tough is with the owners. And where a commissioner like David Stern was good is he was tough with the owners. And the owners are really making all these decisions. And the owners are afraid of sponsorship, afraid of other things. And so they're directing Goodell. Goodell works for the owners. And that's the problem with the system. The system is the original concept of a commissioner was you were going to be independent and make decisions in the good of the game.
Right.
And that's not the case now in any sport. But you could argue the NBA commissioner still does it because he's able to build a consensus among the owners and the players. And in the whole model of the NBA where the players get 57 cents out of every dollar, it's a partnership.
Yeah.
Which they're not going to do anything to wreck the partnership. But the NBA is also tolerant enough to let the players have a discourse and let them talk about things that are important to them and the whole bit. So, I don't know.
And that brings us to something else. Like, you look at, it's not just players like LeBron that stand up and say things, but Steve Kerr comes out and talks. Greg Popovich comes out and talks. And for whatever reason, it doesn't seem like when a player expresses his opinion in the NBA, why does it not become the same? Is it just where the NFL is as opposed to the NBA? Like, what is the difference that,
The NBA hides behind, the NFL hides behind the shield, whereas the NBA logo is a player.
Yeah.
And it's very symbolic, and that's really what it is.
And the NFL players are, of all the professional sports, I mean, I know, and I don't know why I do this, because I already know what I'm going to find when I do. But sometimes I'll read an article about the collusion case or the kneeling issue. And for whatever reason, I click on the comment section just because I want to see. And it is disgusting in there,
Yeah.
Despite the fact that, a lot of people are underpaid in this country right now. And I empathize with that. I get that completely. But the first question of these railing babies, they don't, and it's vile talk towards the NFL players, and it's like they don't make that as much money as you think they make, for starters.
The careers are pretty short.
their careers are very short. They're putting their lives and their well-being on the line with the CTE to bring that back up. So I mean, and they don't have a seat at the table like they do in the NBA, and they don't have the long guaranteed contracts like a Major League Baseball. Yeah, like I said, this is the first time where it's going to be very. I've never been conflicted watching football. Like I probably should have. Like the CTE stuff, some of the violent stuff. And again, our favorite team. We've had a few players over the years that have not been, I guess, the best citizens. I don't know how to put it.
That's a good way to put it.
Allegedly not the best citizens. Sometimes actually not the best citizens. But I've just been able to sort of compartmentalize that and say, well, I know that most of the guys on the team are really good and what it means to the city, and I can just sort of put it beside me. But this feels like, I don't know. And again, come August, come September, I'm probably going to watch. I hate to see, but I mean, this is the first time it bothers me the most, I guess, for whatever reason.
Well, and if you thought that Goodell had made a good decision, it should have been instant to you as soon as Trump opened his mouth. It was a bad decision.
And we should probably point out there are a few owners, and I think the Philadelphia Eagles is one who said he's gonna if his players want to come out and do that, he's gonna pay their fine.
Yeah.
So it wasn't consensus among all the owners.
No, there was no consensus on the whole issue, and there's not. I mean, you bring them in the room right now, there's no consensus.
No.
There'd be less of a consensus now if they saw the way the public reacted to it.
Right. And I know it's become an even bigger issue, and I'm sure. I mean, you're with social media and cell phones, you can never completely ignore the issue. But it seems like when it first started, if the NFL really had a problem with it, they should have just talked to ABC, CBS, and ESPN and just showed it and just ignored the people that were protesting. I mean, I don't know. It just feels like seems like nobody in the room thought this through,
No, they didn't think it through. And there's not enough diversity in the room to really think it through.
No, because I mean,
if you had players in there and you had a caucus, and you're really, really debating this out and listening to both sides and everything, rather than trying to think what the players are saying and sit in a room with closed doors and make up your mind. And Goodell has just really disappointed me. Really disappointed me.
Very much so. I mean, I feel like there's got to be some sort. I mean, I know that. I mean, there obviously. I mean, the way the league is set up now, like you said with Goodell and the power struggle, like it's never going to change. But it seems like there's got to be some way where they could have come across. Been like, everybody's going to stand for the anthem and the players all come out and support, but the NFL is going to do, a big awareness program about, they feel like there was some middle ground, like with the NBA. Like they could have figured out some way that both sides could have won. Because right now, it's, I don't know.
It just doesn't make sense. It's just a bad decision and a bad direction, and it's going to lead to more problems.
And I realize, it is almost June, but we are still a few months away from the season. And it seems like if this was your best decision, there's no need to come out and announce this, No. Take a few weeks, get a couple focus groups, come up with something, like sit down and really think about a better plan. Because this feels like it's, like I said, besides being poorly thought out, and like I said, you have some owners saying, we're going to pay the fines for our players, this is stupid. And other owners in the room obviously aren't. I mean, it seems like you could have just not said anything, and then tried
to see where it goes and see if the ranks stay closed.
Yeah,
on both sides.
Well, I mean, you've seen like there's rumors that some star players will say they're going to sit out.
Yep.
You've seen photos like Antonio Brown of the Steelers. He takes an Instagram post on his knee in a golf course. I mean, this is yeah.
You're missing a game check of more than $1 million, then I want to see you sit out. That's, and these guys have short careers. I mean, I don't know where it's going to go. It's going to be interesting to watch.
Definitely.
Well, let's talk NBA. And I have to pay homage to LeBron. I did not think there was any way that team made the finals. Any way in hell. No way. And he put him on his back and he dragged him there.
Yeah, he really just 8 straight seasons.
He's had an unbelievable record-setting playoff. I've just been totally impressed.
Right.
I mean, I already don't think they win the finals, but God, I could be wrong again. I've been wrong enough.
Well, I think if they play the Rockets and Chris Paul is still not healthy.
Chris Paul's not playing tonight.
Right. I mean, if Chris Paul, let's say the Rockets win tonight, and the way the Warriors are playing right now, they look just Jekyll and Hyde every single night. I never know which Warriors team is showing up.
No.
But they definitely don't look like a team that supposedly has, 3 or 4 top 20 players on that team, because they are not playing like that at all. But I think with a hobbled Rockets team, I think LeBron, I wouldn't bet against him, that's for sure.
Okay. I just don't know. I picked the Rockets and the Sixers weeks ago. I don't know.
I mean, I guess, the one, if we're going to, again, not to take anything away from LeBron, but as far as the East goes, I mean, the Celtics are missing, maybe not anymore, but arguably going into the season, 2 of their best players are no longer there right now on IR. The Sixers team was a team, they lost to Boston. They simply weren't ready.
No, they overachieved this year.
Yeah.
And they got in a tough spot, and they just were too young.
And the Raptors are always the Raptors. I know that sounds like, but they just are. They, they're the team that they've been for the last 10 years. They're just good enough to get to the playoffs. So this year, they're I think in the decade prior, it was Atlanta Hawks were the team that just, would get into the playoffs, occasionally be a higher seed, and just always disappoint. I think that's the Raptors, and they never beat LeBron.
Yeah.
But just getting to the finals. And again, I know other people have said this, but not that I don't think we need to compare players because they play in different eras. And I know people like to rank things because that's what, people just enjoy doing. But he should not be held accountable for the teams he's been on losing in the finals. Like, the fact that he's made 8 consecutive finals is phenomenal.
No question.
And it's not,
I tweeted out this morning, I said it's a waste of time to compare him to Michael Jordan. 2 great players, 2 different eras. Let it go.
Yeah. And
I
again,
wouldn't want to guard either one of them.
No, definitely not.
But it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to watching tonight, seeing where it goes.
And who do you think is going to win
Thompson
tonight?
was unconscious the other night.
And who do you think is going to win tonight?
It's in Houston.
It is.
Cabela is the wild card for me. I mean, he makes some plays. He's guarded Durant pretty well.
Yeah. And they've got guys like Eric Gordon.
I think Curry's back. Not quite where he was, but he's back enough that he's going to cause problems.
I'd like to see
a good matchup for Curry or Thompson.
Yeah, I'd like to see Durant really. I mean, I know he won Finals MVP, but it wasn't really a close, I'd like to see him put this team on his back because if you're playing the Rockets, even in Houston without Chris Paul, the talent on this team should be able to beat that team.
I would say so. So we'll see.
Although it is a weirdly constructed team, when you look at their bench, they went from having a pretty deep team to an incredibly shallow team really quickly.
Yeah, they did.
And they bizarrely have like 4 or 5 centers on a team that, basically uses Draymond Green at the center and Kevin Durant at center. And it seems like...
Is not Pachulia taking his warm-up off yet?
No. But I don't think you need 4 of those guys. Like, what do you need JaVale McGee and him and the 2 other... Like, they're not going to get in the floor that much. If you need 1 or 2 bruisers to bring in, for the occasional series. But, I don't know. I think I'm predicting, I think the Golden State Warriors are going to win tonight.
Okay, and what's your hockey prediction?
This is an odd one for me because, part of me, there's a lot of former Penguins on Vegas. And I know I've disparaged the Vegas fan base on this podcast before and the story the media is telling about them. But it's not that they're, there's a part of me that kind of wants to see Ovechkin win a championship. It's the same way, like, as a Steeler fan, when the Ravens made the Super Bowl, I oddly wanted the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. Because I had watched them battle with the Steelers year after year, and I'd come to really respect, at least on a professional level, football level, Ray Lewis and Terrell Suggs and Ed Reed, and I just, they had brought me a lot of joy as a fan in a bizarre, on the opposite sort of way. And that's how Ovechkin has been, and I feel like he's in that, he's sort of like the Chris Paul, James Harden, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone right now of the NHL. Like a great player that's never been able, this is the furthest he's ever been. But I feel like
playing right now, he's taking that team on his back.
He is. But I feel like, it's not like he's choked in those series. I mean, when they lost to the Penguins, he went head-to-head, and his stats were as good as Sidney Crosby's. It's just that everybody else was better. So I'm rooting for them to win.
I think the Capitals will win in 5.
In 5?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
They're hot. It's a hot team that believes in themselves. Once they beat the Penguins, I noted the change in them. They believe. They don't think they can win. They believe they can win. That's a big difference.
And Ovechkin had never had any trouble solving Andre Fleury. We know that. Although he can solve just about any goal in the NHL. Like, he's... In my lifetime of watching hockey, he's the scariest guy when he's got a shot on goal.
I saw shots that were hitting the back of the net before the goalie ever saw them.
Yeah, he's just phenomenal. And like I said, I'd really like to see him pull that out.
Well, since we're talking about great athletes, I had the pleasure of watching Mike Trout 2 games this weekend. And I have to tell you, I think he's the best player in baseball by far. I don't think it's even close. I mean, he can run, he can hit, he can throw, he can catch. He's smart. He can steal bases. He's just unbelievable. And he is, and I saw Mickey Mantle play, and he is Mickey Mantle. And he's just unbelievable. It's a real play to watch. They also watched Otani, who was overmatched this weekend. Walked a few times, struck out a bunch of times. Did not pitch, DH'd every game. And just wasn't all that. I don't know if it was playing Yankee Stadium in front of a lot of Japanese fans, because the big matchup was supposed to be Tanaka and Otani yesterday.
Right.
And then the Angels decided they were going to rest Otani another day. So that's what they did.
Yeah, and I mean, he's 21 or 22, is that?
And he can run like a deer, Otani.
Yeah.
He's really fast. I think he's an incredible athlete. I would have loved to see him pitch. I wanted to see that curveball. I wanted to see him pitch, and I didn't get to see it, so hopefully I'll see it later on in the summer. But I saw what I wanted to see. I mean, Mike Trout's first at bat on Friday night home run.
Yeah, he had an incredible series. Absolutely incredible series.
Yeah, I love Mike Trout. I could be a huge fan if he wasn't on at 10:30 East Coast time.
And he just, again,
He's a good guy.
I don't know if I've never heard Mike Trout talk, as far as I know.
He does interviews, and they're really friendly. And I've seen him signing autographs for kids in the stands before the games. He's just a nice guy.
Yeah.
No ego.
But as far as, like, your average baseball fan, where do you think where do they see Mike Trout? Does it?
Well, the average baseball fan doesn't see Mike Trout because he's on the West Coast. I mean, he doesn't get talked about. Usually when SportsCenter comes on, his team's just starting to play. So, I mean, he doesn't get the exposure.
Well, what can baseball do?
It's incredible to watch, but unless it's a day game or his team's playing in a different time zone, you don't see it.
So you're Major League Baseball. You have a guy that's, like you said, as good as Mickey Mantle, one of the greatest players of all time. He puts up, I know historically, if you're a baseball stats guy, I know Mike Trout has historical numbers across the board. Like, how do you get him in the mindset of more? Because, I mean, you figure with Tiger Woods, there's a ton of people that never gave a crap about golf before. And I know Tiger Woods has some other racial and social issues that help bring him to the forefront. But he brought in all these eyes because it was like you're watching whenever you have one of the greatest of all time on the stage, you bring in more casual people because they're like, I need to see if one of the the best people of my lifetime is playing. I need to know what they look like, what they're playing like. How do you get people to acknowledge that and go start watching that? Is that possible?
We hope his team plays better because he has 3 guys in the lineup yesterday batting under 200. Not under 300, under 200. You just can't have that. I mean, they're not winning games. They've lost 2 out of 3 of the Yankees. They lost again today. So they're not playing well. They're just barely over 500.
Because, I mean, the Angels are not a small market team. They spend money.
They spend money. They've got a good team. But they don't have a good enough team, I don't think. They're missing some pieces, or the performers they have to start playing well. I mean, Ian Kinsler was exciting. He's under – Zach Kozar worked out pretty well. Ian Kinsler's not hitting 200. Calhoun's not hitting 200. You got Trout, nothing. That's pretty much what you have. Pujols is like 240, 250.
Yeah,
He's past his prime.
It's really a shame.
It is a shame. But, he's so much fun to watch.
Indeed.
I like the Memorial Day uniforms on both teams. I like them on all teams. mean, I thought it would look weird on the Angels being where they wear red jerseys with the green kind of camo type numbers, but it looked kind of cool. I would have bought one.
Nice.
So lots of things going on.
Very much so. And I said,
unfortunately, the NFL is going in the wrong direction. The NBA is going in the right direction. Hockey's had a phenomenal year.
yeah.
And baseball, a lot of good stories going on. The Astros are playing well. The Yankees, Red Sox is a good rivalry. Not much going on nationally. But other than that, I mean, there's some good baseball being played too.
And because you and I rarely, if ever, watched that other sport that's incredibly popular in the world, that was a pretty incredible championship game that just happened. You got the bicycle kick that made all the sports media just blow up by by Bale. I've always felt that I really enjoy soccer highlights, but not actual soccer matches. Like, if you show me a package of soccer highlights, I'll watch all of them, and I'll think they're incredible. But to watch the entire 90-minute game, it's difficult for me to get through, even though it's one of the shortest sports. And I know people find that appealing, is that, soccer's a pretty solid.
90 minutes for 1-0 or 2-1 is tough for me.
I know, but that one goal could be pretty incredible.
It can be, but I don't want to wait 88 minutes to see it.
No, I get that. Yeah, it's like it was just one of those, it's like, I was like, a good soccer highlight is pretty phenomenal. But what can you do?
No. Food moment.
Well, you were in New York City, so.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, my food moment was Legends at Yankee Stadium. Because I was fortunate to have Legend seats, I was in the 6th row behind home plate.
Ooh.
Which means my ticket would retail for around $2,000.
Ay caramba.
Yeah, which means that for $2,000 you get a pretty good meal, right?
I'd hope so.
Yeah. So I know you're not a big seafood guy, but I ate lobster and king crab until it was coming out of my ears on Friday night.
And they just bring that to you in your seats?
No, you have a buffet.
Oh, okay.
And you have a dining room, and then you go outside.
Oh, okay, all right.
But, so Friday night it was lobster, king crab, shrimp, prime rib, barbecue brisket, pasta bar, grilled salmon, cold cut bar, salad bar, unbelievable dessert bar.
And I assume all you can drink.
Food in your seat.
Wow. And I assume you get all the liquor you want and everything else as well, right?
Liquor is extra in your seat for sure. The liquor's extra.
Oh, wow.
The liquor's extra. Because Mom had a glass of wine. We paid for the wine.
Okay. I figured $2,000 would get you just about everything you wanted, but maybe not.
Nope. But the food was just amazing. And then we went back again yesterday. And I looked at the lobster and king crab and I just couldn't do it again. So I had some turkey and some other stuff. I just couldn't do it.
Wow.
But it's an unbelievable spread. It is unbelievable. It's as good as any restaurant in the area.
Well, like I said, at $2,000 a pop, I would hope you would get,
Yeah, they did. They take care of you.
some pretty phenomenal,
Yeah.
And I assume your viewing from those seats is pretty incredible as well, too. Like, you're not missing.
It was. And then Barilla, the pasta company.
Yeah.
They've opened up a whole fleet of, I wouldn't call it fast food. Quick food.
Right.
Barilla has restaurants all over New York now.
Oh.
Featuring Barilla pasta, Barilla restaurants. And it was really good. We did that one day, too.
Yeah, I think that's kind of I've seen a few places like that have popped up. Because, if you cook all your sauces fresh in house and you have your sauces ready to go.
Yeah.
And you have, some vegetables and some meats and all that stuff already cooked and ready. And then you're just sort of, not double cooking the pasta, but, you cook it till it's al dente, then you drop it back down to get heated back up.
Yeah, I guess that's what they're doing. It was amazing. It's really good. And it's affordable, too.
Because, pizza is finally caught up. I know we have a place in Tampa that, it's 180 seconds in the coal fire and, in the super Vesuvius oven to your pizza. And I've ate at LeBron James's Blaze restaurants, where it's about 3 to 4 minutes before you get an entire pizza fresh cooked. So it's pretty, they're finding ways to cook everything fast. So,
Okay.
And pretty good high quality too.
I'm reading Stephen King's new book, The Outsider.
And so,
I'm a quarter of the way through. It's really good.
and you gave me a copy of that as well, which I'm looking forward to reading.
Yep, you'll really like it.
I suppose to follow up on my Killing Eve show, it's still pretty phenomenal. I'm down. The season finale just popped up on my iTunes yesterday. I am a little nervous moving forward though, because it was a very tight, very small knit story. And again, it's one of those shows that was initially supposed to just be a season. And then because it was so well received and it got so popular that they greenlit a second season. So now they've opened it up and it's not gone too far off the rails yet. I'm still holding out hope, but I kind of like the...
All 4 seasons were great.
I really like the one small story, and I would be happy just to get the ending of that story and move, I think there's nothing wrong with wanting more. Like, I realize that financially speaking, that doesn't work for everybody, because you've got a hit on your hands. You're just going to milk it as far as you can milk it. But I know the writer of that show is Phoebe... I always forget her last name, but she was actually the droid's voice in Star Wars, but she's blown up to the point where, she's now sort of, almost supervising sort of the right, so it's not that she was writing everything, but I think sometimes you get this incredibly talented person, they burst onto the scene, they create a show, and then they start getting pulled away and pulled in all these different directions, and they can't, instead of being this 100% focused on this one amazing property, now they're being pulled into like 6 or 7 directions. Like I said, I'm still holding out hope. It's been great so far. But as they start to open up to this larger arching story, I'm not sure if it's going to be able to maintain what made it great. Maybe it'll turn into something else that'll be just as great, but I think what attracted me to the show in the first place is probably not going to be able to sustain itself.
We'll have to see.
Yeah. But, and sadly, once again, for another week, I did not really have a food moment. Nothing
You did it directly because some of my former students were at a bachelorette party in New Orleans.
Uh-huh.
And I sent them to cake.
Okay.
And they all raved about it.
Yeah. Like I said, it's among the best breakfast places in America, I think.
I can't agree with you. I eat breakfast a lot of different places.
Yeah, breakfast is, like a lot of people, breakfast is my favorite meal, and cake just knocks it out of the park every single time. So if you're in New Orleans Cake Cafe and Bakery, and no matter what you get, it's going to be delicious. So.
No question.
Oh, actually, I did have a food moment that I want to share, a little quick one.
Okay.
In Tampa, because I'm in Tampa right now, Capital Tacos. I think they have 2 locations so far, and they're about to open a 3rd. Everything is fresh made in-house, and it was just, if you're a taco person, it's delicious. I don't know what else to say. But,
okay.
That's a smaller one. I don't know if we have a lot of local listeners, but it's definitely worth going to. Just throw that out there. And I think, when we come back next week, we'll have we'll see a couple of NHL games after tonight and next week, and we'll know who's officially in the finals.
We'll see where we're going to go.
Yeah.
We'll continue to follow the NFL.
And I think it was...
I revised my prediction. I said Kaepernick would be on a roster by the end of October. And maybe I meant October of 18.
Just to circle back to that really quickly, like if the NFL, instead of, this debacle that they've made, if the owners had decided collectively to, slightly swallow their ego and just, and signed Eric Reed and Kaepernick to a team, and do you think, would that have quelled some of the anger, or would that have helped,
Sure, it would help, because now, you're saying it wasn't about the protest, or it was about the protest. It's not about talent. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I just don't know. I don't know where it's going to go.
No.
It's a mess.
All right. So until next week, I'm Jason.
Bill.
Once again, please rate us on iTunes. We still don't have very many ratings, and we could definitely use some more Patreon support. And thank you to all our Patreon supporters that have continued to support us for this first year. It's been phenomenal. It's been helping us stay on the air. We really appreciate that. So.
Have a great week. We'll talk with you next weekend.